Springbok captain Siya Kolisi has paid tribute to teammate Eben Etzebeth as well as Bongi Mbonambi ahead of their landmark tests against Wales today. Etzebeth will become the youngest Springbok to reach 100 test caps. Mbonambi, on the other hand, he'll reach his 50th in the green and gold, and Kolisi insists that they will not only be trying to win the decider today for them, but for all South Africans who continue to support the team during tough times.
Many have put on this jersey, and we are obviously so happy, and I'm honored to be on the field with both of those guys who've worn this jersey with pride over and over again, you know, and not many people. I mean, he's only the 7th guy to put on and the youngest guy to put it on, and not once has he ever, you know, dropped the team. He's always given everything. So, and Bongi is Bongi. He, you know, he's always ready. You know, he wears his heart on the sleeves at all times. You know, we obviously want to do it for them, but most importantly for the Springboks, and obviously for the people of South Africa who actually came and supported us in probably one of the difficult in our country at the moment, you know, with everything that's going on, but people are still buying tickets, coming to support us, you know. So there's all of that to play for tomorrow, and yeah, it will be amazing to make it special for the two guys.
Now, Kolisi and his Chargers will take on a Wales side that produced a powerful late display to beat them in the second test in Bloemfontein to level the series at 1-1 last week. Coach Wayne Pivac insists that it was not necessarily the plan. He does admit, though, that the initial strategy was to replicate the quick start that caught those Boks off guard in Pretoria in the first test, and that's what they'll be working hard to bring to Cape Town later today.
It wasn't intentional to come hard at the end. We certainly tried to get the start that we had in the first test, and I think, you know, every side's trying to do that, and we're no different this weekend. We'll need to get a good start, we know that. So if we could replicate anything like the first test, we'd be very, very happy. But look, it was also good to finish the game strongly after the week before where our discipline cost us, and it was probably a role reversal, really. So well, both sides, I think we want to achieve the same thing this week, a good start, a disciplined performance, and try to get some sort of control early. But look, it's one of these games where, you know, if we can stay in it and be there at the end, then, you know, our fitness levels are good. We've got a lot to play for, so, you know, we'd fancy ourselves in the closing stages if the game was tight.
Now let's continue to look ahead to this afternoon's final test match. We're joined by the former Springbok centre and World Cup winner, 1995 World Cup winner, the legendary Hennie Le Roux. Hennie, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Plenty has been made about the Springboks going into this final test match. So much has been made about selection as well. But let's first of all talk about how important it is for the Boks to get it right this afternoon.
Yeah, morning, Butley. It is a key game for South Africa. Obviously, we've passed on the record of never having lost to Wales at home last weekend, and you know, to in the same series go and lose the series would be a bit of a calamity in South Africa's past history when it comes to Wales. But yeah, I think we got to respect the Wales side. They're a very intelligent side. They're well coached, and they're a competent outfit. So one cannot take this lightly, and it's going to be a tough game.
A lot was said specifically by the former Bok coach Jake White regarding the team selection. He feels you select your best team all throughout, and you win the test series right off from the bat for all 3 test matches. We've seen this series almost like a trial series from Jacques Nienaber. What do you make of how the current Springbok coach has gone about, you know, I guess preparing for the upcoming rugby champs and the next year's World Cup as well, with an eye on that?
Yes, I think, you know, there is an element of that, and one has to kind of respect both sides. One does want to experiment a little bit to understand your best combinations and get a feel of who plays better with whom, given certain circumstances and against certain opposition. So one could almost understand that there is a requirement for a bit of experimentation. But I think one could also choose your games to achieve that. And it being, you know, if one reflects back on the 2 games, the first test match was tight enough to warrant a bit of an eye-opener. And although we seemingly played better in the second test match, we lost that. So there is an area of concern as to how we're going to approach this game. And selection, traditionally to the South Africans, it's always been you choose your best test 15 and you go out and you secure the series and then go and experiment instead of doing that halfway through. We're now in a position where we potentially could lose the series, where we could have wrapped it up. Having said that, as mentioned, we seemingly played better in the second test than we did in the first, even though we lost it.
Yeah, of course, Rassie Erasmus always a shadow that's hanging over the head of the current Springbok coach as well. We know that he doesn't subscribe to any book or methods. He goes by his ways. We heard Jacques Nienaber saying that it gives a test-like feel to the final test, the fact that this is a do or die. Do you think that will play into the hands at all of the Boks and those who are particularly starting?
Yeah, look, the Springbok side has always been a side that performs under pressure. So we hope they feel it today, and I think they'll come out and do the job. And the South Africans will be 100% behind them to achieve that. The reality is we don't want to lose the third test because that will go down in history, and the Springboks will be remembered for that. So it is going to be a tough call because, Wales are going to see this as the first time in history that they can win a test series in South Africa.
Indeed. I actually meant to say that he's looking to bring a World Cup-like feel for this test match. Let's talk about selection very quickly. We've got Jaden Hendricks starting at scrum half. Faf de Klerk is on the bench. That will bring much added pressure to Faf de Klerk as well. But what do you make of the selection of the young scrum half ahead of the experienced number 9?
Yeah, that is a little surprising, to be honest. One would think in this particular test match you want to apply the pressure initially on Wales, get them to falter, get them to be a little bit more uncertain about their own game plan. And this is where Faf is rather unique in his ability. He's very quick off the mark. He puts a lot of pressure on the opposing teams. And from that point of view, from an attacking point of view, he possibly gives a little bit more than Jaden does. So it was a surprise selection. We need to understand, what Jacques' intention is and whether he is going to make use a lot more of the kicking boot and so forth. Key to this performance of Jaden is that he's going to have to clear the ball straight from the ground. We can't allow, a step in a pass that really brings the opposing teams onto you from a defensive point of view. And we've noticed Wales are not weak in the defensive department.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, and you mentioned that he's going to have to clear it from the ground. Jaden's kicks last week were quite pinpoint in that regard. Does that maybe speak to the approach of the Springboks this afternoon? Is going to be a high ball situation, trying to get his centres and his wings and fall back under the ball there?
Well, to me, that would be the only reason why they possibly have made that change is a strategic one. It could be that they want to try a particular strategy for the initial part of the game, playing in certain zones, certain areas, and then bring Faf on as an impact player later on. That might be part of the strategy.
Yeah, it's another 6-2 split on the bench. We've have to scratch our heads a lot as South Africans about the number 10 jumper. When Handré Pollard is not in it, it seems very void and it seems like a big hole to fill. What do you make of that, and who could possibly take that spot if Pollard has to come off?
Yeah, it is a difficult one, and we haven't spent enough time grooming our fly-offs, in this particular role. I think, the fly-off role is such a critical role from a decision-making point of view that one requires, if there's any area where one requires a bit of, for the use of a better word, education and grooming, it is at that particular point, particularly when you are changing strategy in your game plan. Historically, we used a lot of a kicking type of game plan. We then moved into a little bit more of an attacking game plan. And if one is going to, play between those two strategies, it is quite unique in the sense that your fly-off's positioning is very, very different for those two strategies that you employ. And your loose forwards and how they combine or get involved in the game is critical. And your 9-10 combination is something which needs to be 100% in place, because if they are slightly off against a quality side like Wales, you could find yourself on the back foot.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, Hennie, what do you, or rather give us your predictions for this afternoon?
I'd like to think South Africa is going to win, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be less than 5.
Less than 5. That's Hennie Le Roux, a former Springbok centre as well as 1995 World Cup winner. We thank him for his time there as we look forward to the Springboks taking on Wales in that third and final test match this evening at the DHL Stadium in Cape Town.